Rick Barry's 23 years old, in his second NBA season, playing against one of the greatest teams ever assembled. And his team's already down 2-0 in the NBA Finals. So naturally, he decides to take 48 shots. Not because he's selfish, not exactly. Because San Francisco doesn't have a normal answer for Philadelphia. The Warriors don't have Wilt Chamberlain anymore. Philadelphia does. The Sixers have Wilt, Hal Greer, Chet Walker, Billy Cunningham, Luke Jackson, Wally Jones. In other words, this isn't just a cute little champion. This is a monster. And Barry's response is basically, fine, I'll become a monster too. April 18th, 1967, Cow Palace, Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Philadelphia 76ers at San Francisco Warriors. Rick Barry scores 55 points. The Warriors win 130-124. The series is still alive, and for one night, the best team in basketball has to look across the room at a 23-year-old forward and admit, yeah, this guy's a problem. Barry's 55 remains tied for one of the highest scoring NBA games in playoff history, and NBA.com notes that it tied Elgin Baylor's finals record with 22 made field goals. Welcome back to Warrior 100. I'm documenting one game per player until I reach 100. Today's Warrior 14, Rick Barry. The game is April 18th, 1967. Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Warriors 130, 76ers 124. This is early Rick Barry, not 1975 champion Rick Barry yet, and not yet the old basketball crank with the underhanded free throws as the first thing everyone mentions. This is young Rick Barry, a scoring, slashing, foul line machine, a shot volume maniac, and already one of the most irritatingly effective players in the entire sport. Today's idea is sometimes a great player doesn't beat a great team. Sometimes he just forces that team to respect the amount of trouble he can cause. Philadelphia walks into this game with control of the series. They've already won Game 1 in overtime, 141-135. Then they crushed San Francisco in Game 2, 126-95. Wilt Chamberlain had 33 rebounds in Game 1 and 38 in Game 2. And Philadelphia was up 2-0 when the final shifted to the Cow Palace. So the Sixers' locker room temperature is probably calm, but not casual. They know they're better. They know they spent the whole season proving it. This team went 68-13, starting out 46-4. And NBA.com season review says Alex Hannum's version of the Sixers had Wilt focus more on rebounding, defense, and playmaking, while Chet Walker and Billy Cunningham carried more scoring weight. The key temperature note, this is not Wilt and some guys. That's the mistake some people make when they talk about old basketball. This is a complete machine. San Francisco's in the opposite emotional condition. They got smoked in Game 2. They're home now, but they're down 2-0. And they're staring at the very player who used to be the center and the center of their universe. Wilt is still the center of the NBA universe. The Warriors had gone 44-37 and won the Western Division under Bill Sharman. But they weren't built like Philadelphia. They needed Barry to be ridiculous. They needed Nate Thurmond to survive Wilt Chamberlain. Mostly, though, they needed Jim King, Jeff Mullins, Thomas Sherry, Clyde Lee, Al Attles, and Paul Newman to keep the game from becoming one man yelling into a hurricane. Basketball Reference's team page lists San Francisco at 44-37 under Sharman, while Philadelphia was 68-13 under Hannum. And this is the first major hint of the episode. Barry doesn't have to be efficient in the modern spreadsheet sense. He has to create enough pressure to bend the entire finals back towards San Francisco. The 1967 NBA is tiny compared to the league we know now. 10 teams, 2 divisions. No three-point line, no spacing, no load management, no endless studio show yelling. Just a compact league where every star seems to know every other star's scars. That was dumb. This is also the first NBA Finals in more than a decade without the Boston Celtics. Boston had beaten Philadelphia in the Eastern Division Finals, ending Boston's run of 8 straight championships. NBA.com marks the 1966-67 season as a hierarchy shift. The Bulls were new, the playoff format changed, and the Celtics' reign finally broke. And there's another storm forming off stage. The ABA is coming. The ABA would debut in October 1967 with 11 teams, including the Oakland Oaks and Rick Barry would soon become one of the first giant prizes in that league war. So this game sits at a weird historical intersection. Old NBA, Wilt, the Celtics dynasty, two-point basketball, and a bruising pace. New basketball, Barry's shot volume, player movement, league competition, bigger contracts, a sport starting to realize stars had leverage. That's a heck of a backdrop for a 55-point game. Now, the clean subplot, Rick Barry is playing against the team that has everything his team used to have. Warriors used to have Wilt. Now Philadelphia has Wilt. The Warriors used to be Philadelphia Warriors. Now they're San Francisco. And Philadelphia has a different franchise wearing the city's NBA identity. The Sixers were formerly the Syracuse Nationals, while the Warriors had played in Philadelphia before moving west. Alex Hannum had been fired by the Warriors in 1966, then immediately hired by Philadelphia. Now he's coaching the Sixers against San Francisco in the finals. Paul Newman is on the Warriors side in this game, and he'd been part of the trade package in 1965 that sent Wilt from San Francisco to Philadelphia. So this isn't just Warriors-Sixers. This is a relocation, a trade aftermath, revenge-adjacent coaching story, and a young superstar trying to pull a franchise back from the shadow of the giant it traded away. That's the spine. Bill Sharman's coaching San Francisco. He was a Hall of Fame player, a Celtics legend, and a man who understood structure, conditioning, discipline, and pressure. The Hall of Fame describes him as one of the rare figures to win, both as a player and coach, and later as the first coach to win championships in 3 different professional leagues. For this game, Sharman's job is ugly, but clear. Keep the Warriors running, survive Wilt, and let Barry be Barry without the whole thing turning into chaos. Alex Hannum's coaching Philadelphia. Hannum's a fascinating character because his great gift wasn't just collecting talent, it was making talent function. The Hall of Fame credits him with transitioning teams into contenders and notes his 1967 Sixers title as one of the great coaching achievements. The Hannum-Wilt arrangement is the big philosophical note. Wilt isn't being asked to score 50. He's being asked to own the game without needing to own every shot. Barry's Hall of Fame page calls him the only person to lead the NCAA, NBA, and ABA in scoring. And it tags his 1975 Finals MVP and championship later in the resume. Thurman's one of the great defensive centers ever. The Hall calls him a rare blend of offense, defense, rebounding, strength, and attitude. For Philadelphia, Wilt Chamberlain, Hal Greer, Billy Cunningham, and Chet Walker. Greer's the steady backcourt killer. Cunningham is the Kangaroo Kid. Still early in his career and coming off the bench, but already a huge piece. Walker is the durable open floor forward. Wilt is Wilt. Greer, Cunningham, and Walker all have Hall profiles tying them directly to this 1967 Philadelphia title team. The all-time matchup is Barry versus the collective. That's the hook. Wilt is the historical figure in the game, but Barry's the game's author. He's only 23 here. That's the first thing to sit with. He's not supposed to be this fully formed already, but he kind of is. Rookie of the Year 1966, scoring champ 1967. He was also the All-Star Game MVP earlier that year in the Bay Area. Then the finals, and he's staring at one of the best teams in NBA history. NBA.com's Barry profile frames 1967 as the sudden peak of his first act. He scored 2,775 points, led the league in scoring, won All-Star MVP, carried San Francisco to the championship series, then dropped 55 in Game 3 before the Warriors lost the finals. And the important thing with Barry is to avoid flattening him into the underhand free throw guy. Yeah, the free throws are part of it. In their own stubborn way, they're kind of glorious, aren't they? Really? The Hall of Fame says he was automatic at the line, and that his underhand method became one of his signatures. But young Barry isn't a novelty act. He's 6'7". He can drive, he can shoot, he can get fouled, he can pass better than his reputation suggests. He can also annoy everyone in the building, which honestly may have been the best part of his skill set. Barry could already walk into the finals against Wilt's monster team and force the whole sport to stare at him. Philadelphia wins the first quarter, 35-32. It's not a disaster for San Francisco. The Sixers are comfortable in a track meet. They scored 125 points per game in the regular season, tops in the league, so 35 and a quarter isn't being dragged into an unfamiliar fight. The warning sign for San Francisco is obvious. If this becomes normal Philadelphia basketball, the Warriors are probably going to lose. So Barry has to make it abnormal. Second quarter, San Francisco flips the game. The Warriors win the second quarter 37-28. And that's the game's major move. Jim King's night is essential. 28 points, 9 rebounds, 6 helpers. Nate Thurmond plays all 48 minutes and gives the Warriors 25 rebounds against Wilt's 26. The Warriors don't just win this game because Barry scored 55. They won because Thurmond also kept the glass clean enough. King gave Barry a second scoring column, and the Warriors won the team rebounding battle, 71-59. Barry's the fire, Thurmond's the foundation, King's the second exit Philadelphia has to guard. At halftime, San Francisco's turned a 3-point deficit into a 6-point lead. In the third quarter, nobody blinks. It's 29-29, and that's big. Philadelphia doesn't back down. San Francisco doesn't extend. The game just holds its breath. This is where Wilt's stat line becomes interesting. He finishes with 26 points and 26 rebounds, which is a career night for almost anybody else, but almost ordinary for him. He also has 5 assists, but Philadelphia isn't getting the Wilt avalanche. They're getting Wilt as a hub, a rebounder, a finisher, and a stabilizer. And Barry somehow is still the more violent scoreboard event. Fourth quarter, Barry closes the door enough. 32-32. Again, no separation. San Francisco survives. That's the real accomplishment. Philadelphia scores 124 points, gets 26-26 from Wilt, 21 from Chet Walker and Hal Greer, 19 from Billy Cunningham, and 18 from Wally Jones. And they lose. Why? Because Barry's 55 changes the math. He goes 22 for 48 from the field and 11 for 19 at the line. In modern terms, we'd argue about the efficiency. But in 1967 terms, against this opponent, in this building, with the series tied 2-0, the volume itself is the point. This is a desperation game dressed up as a masterpiece, and it works. Final, Warriors 130, 76ers 124. Philadelphia still leads the series 2-1, but San Francisco did the one thing it had to do: make the Sixers play at least one more honest game. For San Francisco, this game proves the Warriors aren't just scenery. They're not better than Philadelphia, but they're dangerous. Barry can survive a scoring outburst long enough to bend a finals game. Thurmond can make Wilt work. King can punish attention. And Chamberlain can get a response from a team that had just been clobbered. This is the best version of the 1967 Warriors. Explosive, thin, proud, and capable of making a giant sweat. For the Sixers, this is more annoying than alarming. They still lead the series, and they still have the home court edge. In the broader theme, they still have the better team, but Game 3 tells them the finals aren't going to become a parade until and unless they saw Barry. And that's what makes the rest of the series fascinating. Barry scores 43 in Game 4, then 36 in the San Francisco Game 5 victory, then 44 in Game 6. The Sixers win the title anyway, but Barry makes them carry him through every chapter. You got a weird old arena, Cow Palace. You got the monster team, the 68-win Sixers. The old god, Wilt. You got the young irritant, Barry. You've got the defensive giant on the other side, Thurmond. You got franchise ghosts everywhere. Philadelphia Warriors, San Francisco Warriors, Syracuse Nationals becoming the Sixers, Wilt changing sides, Hannum changing sides back. Then you got one of the simplest hooks in sports. A guy takes 48 shots in the NBA Finals and scores 55 because his team needs every bit of it. That's easy to understand. You don't need a spreadsheet. You don't need a debate show. You just need the box score, 5 seconds of imagination. The question for Barry after the game is obvious. Did he feel like he had to take that many shots? And the honest answer, whether he said it or not, is yes. San Francisco's offense demanded audacity. Down 2-0 against Philly, with Wilt controlling the interior, there's no polite path back into the series. For Sharman, the answer is probably relief. He got the game he wanted, the Barry game, the Thurmond minutes, the King support, and just enough stops. For Hannum, the answer is probably irritation without panic. Philadelphia got production from everywhere. They didn't collapse. They just ran into a historic individual night. For Wilt, the interesting part is he puts up 26 and 26, and it still becomes someone else's game. That's the Barry effect here. Philadelphia wins Game 4, San Francisco wins Game 5, and then Philadelphia closes the series at Game 6 at the Cow Palace, 125-122. The Sixers win the finals 4-2, ending Boston's 8-year championship run and cementing the 1966-67 Sixers as one of the best teams in league history. NBA.com notes the 1967 Sixers were voted the NBA's all-time greatest team in 1980. We've had other great teams since then. San Francisco returns the next year without Barry on the court because he tries to jump to the ABA's Oakland Oaks, and a court dispute sidelines him for the entire 1967-68 season. The Warriors go 43-39 that year and lose in the Western Division Finals. Philadelphia stays great in 67-68, going 62-20, but they then blow a 3-1 lead to Boston in the Eastern Division Finals. That becomes the other side of the 1967 title. The Sixers reached the mountaintop. Then the Celtics took the mountain back 1 year later. Barry's career after this game gets strange quickly. He jumps to the ABA, sits out a season because of a legal fight, then eventually plays for Oakland, Washington, and the New York Nets before returning to the Warriors. And that's why he's up here on the list at rank number 5. Because he did come back. NBA describes the 1967 ABA jump as the abrupt end of Barry's first NBA phase, with the court dispute costing him a full season. Then comes the part that changes the Warriors franchise story, 1975. Barry returns and becomes a better version of himself, more complete, and leads the Golden State to the NBA championship. The Hall of Fame credits his outside shooting and overall scoring weaponry as central to that 1975 title run, and he wins Finals MVP. So this 1967 game isn't the end of the Rick Barry story. It's the early proof. Before the league jump, before the legal mess, and before the comeback, the title, the cranky old legend reputation, before all that, he was already capable of hijacking the NBA Finals in a game against Wilt Chamberlain's best team. That's why this one sits in the Warrior 100. Next game, we switch it up and go back to the Astrodome. Astro 39, Glenn Davis, October 8, 1986. Game 1 of the NLCS, Astros versus Mets. Mike Scott versus Dwight Gooden. One run of the whole game. And the run comes from Glenn Davis, who takes Gooden deep in the second inning for the only score in a 1-0 Houston win. That episode's going to be about what happens when a single swing has to carry an entire October night. So that's Warrior 14, Rick Barry, April 18th, 1967. The Warriors didn't win the series. Barry didn't get the championship here. Philadelphia was too deep, too complete, and too historically good. But this game is still one of the cleanest snapshots of what a young superstar looks like when he refuses to let the better team have an easy ending. 55 points on 48 shots. One finals win dragged out of a Giant's hands. That's the episode. Thanks for hanging out. We'll be back with Astro 39, Glenn Davis, and one swing against Dwight Gooden. Thanks for watching.